Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is glaring hypocrisy when you have Republicans on the other side of the aisle trying to create definitions and say Rashida wants to annihilate people, when Max Miller himself went on TV and said we're turning Gaza into a parking lot and we want to annihilate Palestinians. Nobody condemned him on that side of the aisle. What is true here is that every single one of them has not acknowledged the fact that Palestinians are dying in the tens of thousands, but will continue to say it is us who are not acknowledging humanity. Rashida will stand strong.
Gentlelady's time has expired.
Do you really believe that someone who has openly disparaged our allies, undermined the memory of 9/11, and continues to promote divisive rhetoric should hold a seat on the House Foreign Affairs Committee? Because that's exactly what Ilhan Omar has been allowed to do. This is a conversation we need to have, and I'm going to break it down for you. Before we dive into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up if you're passionate about holding our leaders accountable. And don't forget to comment with your thoughts. Let's get into it.
This time I would yield 6 minutes to Max Miller from the great state of Ohio.
The gentleman is recognized for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the gentleman from Mississippi for yielding. Mr. Speaker, the House Committee on Foreign Affairs has broad jurisdiction over national security and foreign policy, peacekeeping and peace enforcement, international law, and the promotion of democracy, and many other critical issues that require its members to be both objective and credible. Members of the Committee on Foreign Affairs represent the United States abroad and are regarded as credible emissaries of American foreign policy. Their words have significant weight in guiding our relations with other countries and are relied upon by world leaders. Most importantly, our allies such as Israel, the forever home of the Jewish people. But what happens when a committee member is no longer viewed as a credible emissary of our foreign policy? What if a member is barred from visiting one of our allies because of their prejudiced comments? How can members who are unable to engage with our allies in a constructive manner be considered credible members of the committee? Well, the gentlelady's discriminatory comments disqualified her from traveling to Israel in 2019. Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, would not allow Representative Omar to enter, saying, "We respect all political parties in the United States equally. However, we will also respect ourselves. Whoever comes to impose boycotts on us and to deny the legitimacy of the State of Israel, we will not allow them entry." Yes, the gentlelady disqualified herself from entry into one of the most important countries allied with the United States. Over the past 75 years, Israel has been a steadfast ally of the United States. Israel has stood by us through the volatility in the Middle East, and this alliance has been critical to our own national security. How can someone not welcomed by one of our most important allies serve as an emissary of American foreign policy on the Foreign Affairs Committee? And given her biased comments against Israel and against the Jewish people, how can she serve as an objective decision maker on the committee? Let's take a look at some of the gentlelady's comments. In February of 2019, barely more than a month after becoming a member of this body, Representative Omar suggested that the Jewish people and the American Israel Public Affairs Committee were buying political support, writing on Twitter, "It's all about the Benjamins, baby," clearly amplifying an anti-Semitic stereotype about the Jewish people and money. In response, congressional Democratic leadership, her own party, immediately released a statement by saying anti-Semitism must be called out, confronted, and condemned wherever it is encountered without exception. Not long after Representative Omar trivialized the terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2001, by describing that day of infamy as "some people did something." That's horrific. Some people did something. Yes, Mr. Speaker, some people did do something. Some people committed evil acts of terrorism and killed nearly 3,000 Americans. And in response, some thousands of our fellow citizens, myself included, enlisted in our armed forces to defend the gentlelady's right to make her prejudiced remarks. Many went off to combat and even died to defend that right. But they did not die fighting to have their bravery and love of country undermined by a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Mr. Speaker, I have no words to describe just how utterly unacceptable these comments are. But that's not all. In 2021, the gentlelady referred to Israel, which has the absolute right to defend itself against terrorism and attacks on its very existence, as an apartheid state. She even equated the United States and Israel, countries that have stood as beacons of democracy, to the Taliban and Hamas, organizations that impose terror on their regions in the world. Once again, even her Democrat colleagues swiftly condemned her comment. 12 Democrat members of this body released a statement which noted, equating the United States and Israel to Hamas and the Taliban is as offensive as it is misguided, ignoring the differences between democracies governed by the rule of law and contemptible organizations that engage in terrorism, at best discredits one intended argument and at worst reflects deep-seated prejudice from her own party. Some have decried this effort as a political game. Mr. Speaker, I assure you this is no political game. This resolution is not about engaging in a tit-for-tat with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. This is about keeping someone with a long record of anti-Semitic and anti-Israel bias off the Foreign Affairs Committee, which needs objective emissaries for our foreign policy. Even the Democrat former chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Eliot Engel, said that Representative Omar's anti-Semitic comments have no place in the Foreign Affairs Committee or the House of Representatives. That was in addition to the previously mentioned joint statement from 12 of the gentlelady's Democrat colleagues. The facts are clear. Representative Omar has espoused anti-Semitic and anti-Israel rhetoric time and again. She cannot be an objective contributor to the work of the committee, and she has brought dishonor to the House of Representatives. This body, this committee, which is viewed by nations around the world as speaking for Congress on matters of international importance and national security, should not have a seat for a member who would bring such dishonor to that committee. I encourage all of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to support this resolution, to say with one voice that the United States House of Representatives does not condone hate, and to reaffirm we will always condemn anti-Semitism. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
All right.
For many watching,
Let's talk about what went down recently in Congress. Congressman Max Miller stood on the House floor and made a strong case for why Ilhan Omar should not be serving on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And I've got to say I agree with him. This isn't just about politics. Folks, this is about protecting America's credibility and national security. But let's first break down what Miller said, and I'll give you my take on why I think Omar is completely unfit for this position. Now, that was a powerful statement from Max Miller, wasn't it? He didn't hold back. And why should he? Omar has made remarks that I believe have no place in the halls of power. Let's get into the three major points Miller raised, and then I'll share why they're even more significant than you might think. First, Miller talked about the fact that Ilhan Omar was banned from entering Israel in 2019. You know why? Because of her support for BDS boycott, divestment, and sanctions against Israel. Israel is one of America's closest allies, and if they've made it clear that they don't want her there, why in the world should she be in a position to influence U.S. foreign policy? It doesn't make any sense. If Israel, who we support and stand with, has called her out, why are we still allowing her to have influence on foreign affairs? Second, Miller brought up Omar's controversial remarks about 9/11, and let me tell you, as an American, this hits home. Miller reminded everyone that Omar's dismissive comment about the September 11th attacks essentially brushing off the ball. Lives lost and the heroism shown by so many was offensive to all of us who hold that day sacred. Nearly 3,000 people died on that tragic day. And the sacrifices that followed are what make this country what it is. How dare she downplay that? We have soldiers, first responders, and families who gave everything, and for her to trivialize that sacrifice? Unacceptable. Third, and perhaps most importantly, Miller highlighted how Omar's repeated anti-Israel rhetoric is a direct threat to the strength of the U.S.-Israel relationship. Israel has been a steadfast ally for over 75 years. And here's the reality. If we want to continue to be a force for good in the world, we need to stand with our allies, not tear them down. But Omar has consistently used her platform to attack Israel, and in doing so, she's been hostile to one of America's strongest and most reliable allies. That's a huge problem when it comes to shaping foreign policy. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, this is just a political attack from the Republicans. And sure, there's a partisan angle here. But this isn't about politics. It's about protecting the integrity of UW's foreign policy. When a sitting member of Congress shows such disregard for our allies and minimizes the value of American sacrifice, we have to ask, should they be influencing global affairs? Should someone who can't even respect one of America's most important relationships be in charge of making decisions that affect national security? Now, let's take a step back. What's really going on here? Is this just a smear campaign? Or is it that Omar's words are so damaging that they can't be ignored anymore? It's easy to dismiss her comments when you don't fully understand the consequences. But I'm here to tell you it's time to stop making excuses for someone who clearly doesn't represent the values that America stands for. I'm not saying we need to silence anyone. America is built on free speech. But we have to draw a line somewhere. If someone is consistently undermining the country's values, undermining our relationships with key allies, and showing disrespect to the sacrifices of so many Americans, then maybe it's time to ask if they're fit to serve in a position of power. And I'm here to tell you it's time for Representative Ilhan Omar to step down from the Foreign Affairs Committee. If she can't respect the very people and relationships that keep America safe, she doesn't belong in that position. So, I want to know what you think. Do you agree with Max Miller's call for Omar's removal from the Foreign Affairs Committee? Or do you think she's just being unfairly attacked? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I always love to hear from you. And, of course, if you agree with the message today, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Remember, America is stronger when we hold our leaders accountable and when we protect the values that make us who we are. Until next time, stay strong, stay proud, and always stand up for what's right. End quote.